What's up, boys and girls? Welcome back to a new Alphastar replay cast. Today we have the Alphastar Zerg against a Masters player. This is from the final folder once again, so this is the best Alphastars, the one we love, the one we know. Now, of course, the Zerg Alphastar isn't quite the one I love and know, so I have a preference for the Protoss one, but I figured why not? Let's have a quick look at some ZVT. As I don't tend to do that very much. So I am not quite aware exactly of how Alphastar plays in ZVT. I just know in ZVP very ravager focused, very focused on like maybe queen pushes with ravagers, like big attacks on layer or hatchery tag basically, and no real creativity, no units except the roach. Maybe a couple of lings is what I've seen. So very different from what we're used to in the current meta game, where a lot of Zergs are playing Swarm Host or Ravager Ling Bane, that kind of stuff. Or even Hydra Bane in some situations. I mean, in DVZ that's definitely very viable to play as well. As we do see a quick hatch first opener by Alphastar here. Rallying into the gas slowly but surely, always keeping that 16 drone mineral saturation in the main base. And on the natural we have our Masters player just going for a quick command center. Of course, starts out with a Reaper. We'll see if he follows up with a Marine or with a Factory. Or with a Reactor, excuse me. So it will be a Marine into a Factory. So this was most likely a Barracks before gas. In that case you always have to get that Marine. Otherwise you can't afford the Factory in the timing you want it to. So this should be... yeah, it's all looking pretty solid here. The factory does get started with the SCV that is building the depot. Overlord coming in to scout. We'll be able to get some info. Well, no, so far just gets the info that there's a Marine. We'll be moving back to the perving peak spot up here to see if we can find something. Meanwhile, I have a Reaper attacking these drones. One drone actually getting micros will turn into a Spore Crawler, the other one into an Extractor. All the drones survive? No. As I say, that one drone dies, absolutely fantastic. And we have speed on the way, no third base yet. No third queen either, so curious to see what Alphastar's plan is here. As gas mining also hasn't continued, so there either has to be a third queen or there has to be some kind of third base. Yeah, here we go, third base does go down. I was wondering where all the money went for Alphastar there for a second. Now, on the other side of the map, we of course have the Hellion transition as well as a second barracks. This is extremely rare to see. This is not something you see very often. It is a triple CC, so we will be heading into bio off of this. But usually this is always a starport, whether that's just for a Viking or a Liberator, sometimes even a medevac. Banshee is all possible, but second barracks is extremely rare. So he wants to really kickstart his marine production, I guess. We see a quick tech lab coming down as well, still on a single gas. As if you're not getting a starport, you're saving a lot of gas, so you don't actually need a fast second gas. Well, we have the Reaper on the other side of the map. Does see this queen who's trying to get a creep tumor down. Reaper man probably won't be able to deny that, as two queens are moving forward. We'll be able to chase these three units away. And it's all fine if you get damage on the Reaper, right? As long as you don't get any real damage on those Hellions, because you need to go back home to repair those. Reaper obviously gets that health back, you see. If he's out of combat for long enough. And there we go. Back to the beautiful 60 health that he usually is. Two more Hellions join up. We'll be going up to 4 Hellions before swapping the factory and the barracks. And this factory will continue building more and more add-ons. In this case a tech lab, most likely actually for a tank. Well, a little bit of an attempted run by here by the Hellions. Let's walk into 3 queens, decides to go back home. Alphastar, what are you doing here? Well, a lot of drones. 20 is absolutely oversaturated on that natural. Probably too afraid to transfer as there's a couple of Hellions, but this is not very efficient at all. Almost doubling up on the mineral, or quadrupling up on the mineral patches. Of course, if you double up, you just have 16 workers. But yeah, almost going up to the 32 workers there. As the Hellions do try to get some damage done. Spore moves towards the third base. There's a bunch of queens on the map. 2 more queens are coming out, as we're already at a queen count of 5. Creep spread isn't all that hot, especially from the third base. Is not looking too great. What is this? An armory and an eBay. usually you always see double eBay. So I guess this is to get a couple of Hellbats with that first push. I mean, there's still 3 Hellions alive, which you can turn into Hellbats. The stim is pretty fast. So this is a push that hits really quickly, right? There is only a single medevac, there's a tank. But because he got such a quick second barracks with a reactor, he was able to pump out a lot of Marines. So this is going to hit extremely fast. And I guess with 3 extra Hellbats there, he might be able to do more damage. As what's there really out here for Alphastar? There's a Rotorn on the way, double Evo is on the way, but he doesn't really have anything that can deal properly with Hellbats. Oh, one tank actually getting caught out of position. That's a very big deal here. Good job there by Alphastar, who that makes this push a lot weaker, honestly. Like, this push will still be able to cancel that 4th base, but even though our Terran has been playing triple CC, his work account is way behind of Alphastar's. Like, way behind. And he does do a nice push, the 4th base, but he's starting with +1 armor. Doesn't have to guess. Okay, +1 attack also starting right now. This is a nice position, right? There's a tank here as well. But Alphastar's like, alright, you're gonna stand over here and just expand to the other side. What you gonna do now? Bad boys, bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Well, you just expand to the other side, apparently. And the bad boys are on the wrong side of the map. Do try to move in, kill a couple of roaches. Tank is actually doing a surprising amount of damage against these roaches. That's a good micro here out of the Terran player. Loses a bunch of Marines, but the tank constantly firing is so painful. No micro really coming out of Alphastar. He's just sacrificing more and more roaches into the tank god. And let me tell you, the tank god is not a benevolent god. He's like, well, if you want to sacrifice yourself, that's completely fine, but you're not getting anything back for it. So 2 extractors going down as well. Now units lost very far in favor of the Masters player, who has been trailing in the income. He's been trailing in supply as well because of that. But now 3rd base is up, 6 gases are going down. 2nd factory is on the way. Where did I see that 2nd factory? Here's the 2nd factory. So it's going to be some big tank production. Wouldn't be surprised to see +1 siege weapons start soon as well. Oh, what is this movement? Medevac will come up with the hot pickup, will be able to elevate her out of there. And like I mentioned before, big Roach Ravager count, big Queen count. 1-1 is on the way here as well, so might be able to run across the map and do some damage once that finishes up. Wouldn't be surprised if that's the plan. Roach speed is already done. No, this tank is actually still going ham. I'm surprised he didn't just put it in one of the medevacs earlier when he was retreating. I guess a little bit of a micromanagement. And here we go. Yes. The Queen Ravagers. No? Just 2 queens? 5, 6? What are we doing, Alphastar? 5 queens. Roach Ravager 1-1 upgrades are done. And here come, well, are basically done. Here comes the push that I was talking about. 8 minutes. Doesn't hit the fastest. How many tanks is there on the map? There's 1 tank on the map. Tank will be moved towards the high ground. 2nd tank pops out as well. Should be on the low ground, I believe. Big flank being set up here. Trying to get the attention of the Terran player down here. And then probably just running in from the front. So I need to zoom out to catch all the action. Oh, but actually there's no unit here for the Terran. So these tanks are just going ham, getting a couple of shots in. What is this? It's like I'm watching the Alphastar Terran edition. Just proxying bases. And Alphastar's also proxying. Nice. This is high quality, boys. Let's zoom back in again as continued upgrades. Infestation pit on the way as well. 2-2 has started for the Terran. Oh, forgets the micro for a couple of seconds. And this is why some people say that Terran is the hardest race. I mean, you don't pay attention to your army for half a minute and boom, all of it is just gone like that. 3 medevacs do remain, 2 tanks still on the high ground, and 1 tank is making its way towards the low ground. Trying to re-establish that 3rd base. Meanwhile, Alphastar have been happily droning up, taking base after base after base, basically still on 5 gases only, so will be difficult to go into some heavier tech from this point on, unless he starts taking extra gases. But this is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bases. There we go. I did manage to finish elementary school, so I can count up to 7. Decent creep spread as well. How many queens are still 7 queens, 2 more on the way, 12 ravagers. This is a very powerful army, as long as the tank count doesn't grow too big. There's 5 tanks right now. If that turns into 7 or 8 or 9 tanks, especially with that extra tank upgrade, which hasn't started yet, these roaches will start falling very quickly. As we do have 2 medevacs heading out towards, well, where are they going actually? Well, so far they'll just be flying straight into the 7th base, which actually does have a queen and 2 drones. Masters player will be able to deal with that. So another drop on the other side of the map. We'll be heading towards this, well, what is it, 5th, 6th base, I guess. Alphastar moves almost his entire army to that top right, even though that base doesn't really need to be defended. I mean, he wasn't even mining from it. 95 drones, by the way, out here for Alphastar. Well, 92 now after losing a couple, and loses 2 bases at the same time. Might actually lose another base here if he isn't careful. He's just kind of following whatever is attacking him at that moment. He's walking from, it's like he doesn't have object permanence. It's like, well, that base died and now there's stuff happening over here, I'll probably shoot head there. No, still was a drop here. You should have split up your army. And it's just completely, look how clueless he is. Finally we see a split of the army, but it's too late. Already lost 3 bases. A lot of creep is being denied. Oh, Terran player slightly forgetting the micro for a little bit there. Still 87 workers though on the map. The income is still very, very good for Alphastar. 4th base now has finished for our Masters player, who is only on 55 workers, so I must have lost a couple in a run by, which I missed. And even though he's killing bases and he's killing drones, he's kind of in a bad spot. He doesn't have very good eco. His 33 is late. I don't think he'll be able to hit before any of the big units will be out. There's a lot of gas right now for Alphastar, who did go up to, well, his 8 gas is going down right now, re-establishing the 5th and the 6th base at the same time. And we see the Terran taking a 5th, yes, because this is the 4th. Oh, this is way more complex than your regular game of StarCraft. I was gonna have an easy time here, but seems difficult as we still have a drop in that top side. We'll be able to instantly kill this base. Does get cancelled. Quick reactions there by Alphastar, who sees a base get cancelled, sends all of his units there. Map vision isn't all that great, and he is maxed with a big bank, so I wouldn't mind if he starts trading out a little bit of his army, getting those ultras, getting those extra, those broodlords perhaps. Now ideally you want to trade out in a way where you are doing something, not just kill your own units by walking them into tanks. As we do have another time, 2 drops on each side, we'll be able to take out 2 more bases. And these medevacs are very low. I would love if he just goes back with these. I don't think moving forward here is the answer, especially because there's about 20 ravagers waiting for him up here on the high ground. These 2 medevacs do manage to get out, and these 2 actually also manage to get out. We'll continue dropping on into the main base. Now there is a couple of broodlords out right now. There's 6 broodlords. There's some ultra upgrades coming out of here. There's still a good bank for Alphastar, but the gas bank isn't that high anymore. The worker count is lower, and he's back to only 4 bases. So this is the first time in the game that our Masters player actually is up in bases. There's another drop hits into the main base. We'll be able to kill a bunch of workers once again, which are being rebuilt. 3 more bases going down, but as long as the Terran is here with his dropship and there's no corruptors or anything to deal with that, like, yeah, every time you rebuild that base, you're just gonna lose it. And same counts for this base, which I guess is the 6th base. Meanwhile, we have the Terran player coming in hot with a Tor switch. Now that he saw that broodlords are out, the 11 tanks aren't quite as great anymore. And he's starting to get some Viking production going. He's finally getting these siege upgrades. He's also getting ship weapons level 1. 3-3 for bio is about to finish up as we have another, oh, this is a wild play, a run by without any medevacs. 6 base is going down for the Terran as well. And I think the one thing Alphastar is doing improperly here is that he just isn't doing anything on the other side of the map. He just lets the Terran expand over and over. He doesn't manage to defend his creep. He doesn't manage to defend his bases. Sure, he got up to a very high drone count very quickly and his early game was good, but he needs to do something with that advantage, and it seemed like he had some timing. Seemed like he could have denied the third a couple of extra times when he had that 1-1 timing, but yeah, instead we're in this weird scenario now where this almost feels like an all-in. There's, what, 10 queens here, there's a lot of broodlords, there's a bunch of Thors actually trying to do some damage. Tanks are not siege, these ravagers are putting in a lot of work. Actually some work also going down on top of these corruptors getting hit by biles. Where are the Vikings? 10 Vikings will start showing up right now. Without ship weapons so far, good corruptor micro, some kiting even coming out of Alphastar. And here come the queen, should be able to at least heal up this corruptor a couple more times. Yes, there we go. I wouldn't even mind if he just let this corruptor die and use the queens to chase away these Vikings. How many Vikings on the map? 9 Vikings, 1 Thor. There is a counter attack, but I think this is the F2 syndrome playing some work on the Terran here, who isn't quite paying attention to this drop, which could have at least kept some units at home. Vikings are very close to one-shotting these Brood Lords. Actually are one-shotting these Brood Lords at this point, even without ship weapons level 1. So all of these Brood Lords will fall, but where's the rest of the army of the Terrans just rallying down into lings? And these lings are very powerful. They don't quite have adrenal glands yet, but they do have +3 armor, they have +2 attack. Landed Vikings do reasonably well against lings, but in these numbers, and I mean in combinations with ultras, with queens, it's going to be very difficult to do anything. And for once the game actually looked fine, and then Alphastar was alright. We've played long enough now it's time for you to die. He just attacks, and I mean if the Terran holds, he still has a lot of bases, right? And moving up this ramp is going to be difficult for Alphastar, who I guess, yeah, it's basically all in. Like the income is very low. Income also isn't that great for the Masters player, but still has 2 planetaries. This base isn't going up. Oh, yeah. This is going to be a very painful loss if it actually is going to be a loss. How many Vikings are still remaining? 0. There's 5 Marines on the map right now. A couple of extra units being produced on that low ground. But yeah, this is starting to seem like an impossible task here for our Masters player. GG gets called, and the Alphastar does manage to win this game, which he was very far behind, so I'm glad he did manage to win in the end. Would have been a pity if you lose being up as far as he was. So, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to subscribe, like, or comment underneath. And I'll see you boys next time. Next week Friday for a new Alphastar, and tomorrow for a new Road to Rank 1, episode number 9. Bye bye. Good night.